Week one of the Battlefield 6 beta was out, and I just gotta say, it's given a bit of a spark of hope within the gaming community. Battlefield has been a franchise that many people have loved over the last decade, and it's kind of fallen flat, just like Call of Duty. But recently, Battlefield 6 came out with an open beta. And this might have been the best beta I've ever tried and played in my whole entire life. Not only did the game look great, not only did the game look polished, I had very minimal glitches. The game only crashed once on me within a beta. That's a first. Usually betas, they crash a lot. But people were wanting to play Battlefield 6, the open beta. I was able to have the early access on Thursday because I watched some of the streams like everyone else did, and there was a queue. And then on Saturday morning, there was once again a queue to get into. And I think I hit a queue about roughly almost 200,000 people, and I waited about 10 minutes to get into a lobby. That says a lot. That says a lot. People want this game. People are excited for this game. But, you know, I'm here to kind of give you guys my overall thoughts on it completely and kind of just break down what I think of it. So let's just start with the negatives, honestly, with the Battlefield 6 beta that I had and the qualms that I really felt with it. Because to me, there actually isn't a lot that I was really negative about. The first one would be the UI. The UI is horrendous. The menu is horrendous. It is honestly kind of, I wouldn't say confusing, but it's very slightly annoying. For example, within the UI, if you go through the settings and you want to change your sensitivity if you're on mouse or controller, whatever you're playing on, you hover over it and you think you could just slide your right stick or slide your mouse left and right to change the sensitivity. But in reality, you have to click A to then be able to slide it and then to be able to confirm it. And then you have to hit apply or your settings won't save. So that is one of the things I actually hate about this is the UI. The UI looks like Hulu. I wish video games went back to a simple generic, you know, we have a cool graphic, like a cool menu screen, like the Halo menu screens, or even the Battlefield 3 and 4 menu screen, and then it slowly goes down and lists, you know, campaign, multiplayer, options, loadouts, extras, whatever you want to put in your menu. But I think streamlining the menus will work out better because at times when you have these Hulu, Netflix style menus, there is a little bit of lag. You know, we see it all the time in Warzone where you want to go from left tab to right tab and you press the right tab and it's like 10 seconds later that you can finally go edit your loadout. The other negative I found with this, and I'm sure we're going to see changes with it, is the fact that, you know, we have two different types of conquest modes. I know the traditional Battlefield fan will go play closed loadout conquest, so that way, you know, the assault class can use assault rifles, and only, you know, the engineers can use SMGs, recon uses snipers, medic uses the support uses the LMGs. You know, they have conquest where it's kind of like the Battlefield 2042 conquest, and then they have the conquest that is, you know, your traditional Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, you know, a certain class. I feel like that's going to split up the player base. So I really hope just, you know, they have one conquest and it's the traditional conquest when the game comes out. And then, you know, you have your rush, your breakthrough, squad deathmatch that they're adding in weekend 2, domination. And my final negative, honestly, with the beta has to be some of the maps. Now, the maps are great, the layouts are great, the game looks fantastic. It's just, you know, we only have one really big Battlefield style map, and even though it's still a really big Battlefield style map, it still is pretty small. You know, you have one jet, one helicopter, a bunch of tanks. It's great. It's sniper galore. I know you guys have seen all the memes of you just run, you turn the corner, and there's snipers on top of the mountain in Liberation Peak, I believe that map is called. My favorite map, honestly, was the Cairo Siege or Siege of Cairo. That was really cool to be going through the city. It's a more close quarter combat map with tanks. So it's great, but I want to see the bigger maps, like where if you want to get across the whole entire map, if you are running, it might take you 10 minutes, or at least it feels like it takes you 10 minutes. Like you have to hop in a vehicle to get from point A to point B. And that's what makes Battlefield Battlefield. Now let's get into the pros. Now the pros are the gameplay, the modes, loadouts, the graphics, just the all-around feel of the game in general. So starting off with the gameplay, movement feels great. I know that's a huge talking point in today's, gaming community is how's the movement? How's the movement? How sweaty are people going to get? But it's very flowy, it's very balanced. I love that they got rid of the tactical sprint. I really despise tactical sprint. I think it was a refreshing thing to have, but now it's overdone with and it's really not needed. Secondly, I love how I already mentioned this, but I love how we have the classic class system. A big problem with Battlefield 2042 was we didn't have that classic class system, and we really needed that. It's a sort of balance when you can have a squad full of assault classes, but if you come across a tank, you're gonna have no support to blow it up unless you're teaming up with another squad within your game that has an engineer or even a recon nearby with those C4 explosives. Now, as I said, they have the mode where, your weapons aren't locked to specific class, but still the whole point of the classes is still there, which is great. I think the classes is what makes Battlefield. It is a military arcade shooter, but they want to kind of differentiate yourself from Call of Duty by having these vehicle classes, these infantry classes, jets, helicopters. It's great. Speaking of loadouts and the classes, the gun gameplay feels really good. I like how there isn't a lot of recoil up close, like visual recoil, but if you're going for a long range battle, there is a lot of drop off. Continuing on with the loadouts and the whole gameplay and the class system, the overall gameplay itself is fantastic. The gunplay is great. I do like how they kept the numbers and letting you know how much damage you've done. I've seen a lot of streamers complain about that and saying, oh, it's in my way, I want to get rid of it. Maybe they can add a setting to do that, but that is Battlefield. If you don't want that, go play Call of Duty. This game is for the Battlefield fans. That's what it's for. There's a lot of talk of, can Battlefield 6 be the Call of Duty killer? And personally, I don't think Battlefield 6 will be the Call of Duty killer. Activision and Call of Duty will always be around. They will always be making millions of dollars each year. They will be selling those stupid, ridiculous skins now for probably the rest of the time unless they go bankrupt. And, I think the only way, though, Battlefield can compete with Call of Duty is if it's itself. If Battlefield is Battlefield and doesn't try to be Call of Duty plus vehicles. I played a lot of the beta with my friends, and to me, that's the only way you can play Battlefield. Yeah, I played here and there solo, and it was still fun, but there's nothing better than playing with your friends in Battlefield because it's more epic. There's more great memories. But yeah, the gun gameplay is great. I do like the loadout system and the customization of the guns. They kind of have a pick 10 system, from Black Ops 2, whereas each attachment accumulates points, but you have 100 points. And there could be a really good attachment that costs 50 points. So are you going to sacrifice to have two attachments that have like 50 points or 25 points, so you only have like 3 to 4 attachments? Or are you going to make it a more balanced weapon where you have 10 points spent here, 5 points spent here? It really does allow people to have, a more feel of customization, but also a balance within gameplay. Now, the final thing I would really like to talk about with Battlefield 6 is more of the community in general. And this is kind of more focused on the streamers and the Call of Duty pros that went to go play Battlefield 6, the open beta. The reason why I say Battlefield 6 gives me a spark of hope is because, the beta shut down and I found myself today wanting to play more. I was playing the new Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Zombies map, and I just felt myself wanting to play more Battlefield 6. I found myself bored of Call of Duty, and hopefully Battlefield 6 kind of cures my itch for a nice FPS shooter. We haven't had a good Halo in a while. Call of Duty's kind of been down in the dumps for a bit. Battlefield has been down in the dumps. So hopefully, and that's why I'm saying it gives a spark of hope, because you never know with EA. EA, they always have tricks up their sleeves. We might pre-order this thing, We might buy it, and then a month later they come out and say, oh yeah, to play you have to have this, this, and this. Oh, we're adding this now. We're getting rid of this. Oh, we're gonna do collabs. We're gonna do collab skins, like Call of Duty does collab skins. And I just think if EA does do that, then it's a disaster. But hopefully EA doesn't. And so far, it seems like EA is just focusing in the Battlefield Studio, because that's what there's not DICE anymore. It's called Battlefield Studio. They are pretty focused on this. They are, already announcing that, hey, we noticed the shotgun in the assault class, and the primary shotgun was really overpowered and it was kind of broken. So we're gonna go in there and already make changes and balance out the weapons within the beta. As betas go, this has been great. I mean, I'm sure there's a buttload of more content, but they have a pretty finished game here. There's only been a couple instances of weird glitches when you die and you get shot, your body can fly, and I'm not talking from an explosive. I've seen a lot of streamers say, this needs to have ranked, this needs to have a battle pass, but it doesn't need ranked. Battlefield is not a ranked gameplay game. Battlefield is a game where you load up with your friends, you get in a squad of 4, and you play rush mode, and you have those Operation Locker moments or Operation Metro moments, or you play Conquest and your buddy's up in a jet and you're down on the ground and you're looking for other air vehicles and trying to shoot them down with your anti-air rocket launcher, or you guys are saying, oh, let's just all snipe, or someone is playing medic and he's just going around and reviving you. That's what Battlefield is. If you want that gameplay of just run and gun and shoot, go play Call of Duty. I know Battlefield has domination mode, but just go play Call of Duty if you're gonna play domination in Battlefield. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Battlefield 6 open beta. I'm really excited for weekend 2. I can't wait to play more. As I already said, I'm getting bored of other games. Hopefully this game will be as great as it is when it launches on October 10th. And let us know down below what you think of Battlefield 6. And did you play the open beta? Did you have time to this weekend? I know it's still summertime, so a lot of people are busy. Hopefully you get to play it this weekend. And if you are playing it, maybe I'll run across you guys on the battlefield.